3 weeks ago, my friend Matt asked if I wanted to go camping. I'd spent my entire summer working, so I agreed, desperate for a break. But as the weekend approached, Matt kept adding people to the trip. What started as 2 of us turned into 6. My mom's old SUV could fit everyone, but I almost backed out. I'm not a crowd person, and Eddie, one of the guys coming, was loud and obnoxious. Still, I told myself a little discomfort would be good for me. The drive was a nightmare. Eddie ignored the no-smoking rule, and his constant jokes made me want to drive into oncoming traffic. Sophie, an old friend from high school, distracted him though. We'd fallen out of touch, but it was nice to reconnect. She caught me up on her life while I nodded along, my own summer too boring to share. When we arrived at the trailhead, I was surprised by how empty it was. Matt said the campsite was a 2-hour hike, but with our group's lack of focus, I knew we'd be cutting it close to set up before dark. We started late, and after 10 minutes of fumbling with gear, Jessie realized she'd forgotten something in the SUV. By the time we finally got moving, the sun was already dipping low. An hour into the hike, we met a stranger. He wore a baggy sweater despite the heat and carried a massive pack that looked too heavy for his thin frame. He asked if we were camping and suggested we check in with the rangers. Matt brushed him off, but the man gave us plastic whistles, saying they were helpful in the woods. He winked at the girls, which they found amusing, and we moved on. We finally reached the campsite, sweaty and exhausted. Everyone set up tents while Eddie and Ben collected firewood. Half-heartedly, of course. Matt disappeared and returned with chicken of the woods, a fungus he cooked for dinner. It was surprisingly good. After eating, Eddie pulled out a joint and the group started drinking. I refused both, which seemed to annoy everyone. Sophie whispered, "You need to grow up," and Matt made a snide comment about my dead parents. I went to bed early, hurt and confused. I woke up to chaos. Ben was vomiting and clutching his head, screaming for Eddie to shut up. Eddie was laughing, a chilling, inhuman sound. Suddenly, a massive buck charged into camp, knocking Eddie into a tree. The deer tore through the site, dragging Matt's tent into the woods. Ben grabbed a burning log, trying to attack Eddie, but I stopped him. Then the deer returned, and we scattered. I decided to hike back to the SUV for help. Matt was supposed to go to the ranger's cabin, but as I left, I heard screams. I ran back but was blocked by the deer. It moved with me, mirroring my steps, and let out an eerie cry. I bolted, tripped, and tumbled down a hill, injuring myself. The stranger from earlier, Arlen, found me and helped me up. He offered to carry me, joking I was a koala. I reluctantly agreed. We returned to the campsite to find it destroyed, with blood everywhere. Ben was gone, and Eddie wasn't Eddie anymore. His upper body was fused to a deer, his voice distorted as he asked for snackies. Arlen fought him off with an axe, hacking until the creature was still. We left quickly, heading for the ranger's cabin. When we arrived, a man inside attacked us with an axe. Arlen disarmed him, but the cabin was a nightmare. Blood everywhere, headless rangers on the floor. One of the bodies reanimated, its chest bursting open with a pulsing blue light and tendrils. I grabbed a chair, using it as a shield, and stabbed the creature with a broken piece of wood. It collapsed, but the stranger we'd just met refused to explain what was happening. "What are these things?" I demanded, my voice shaking. "I can't tell you much," he said, avoiding my gaze. Arlen stepped forward, axe in hand. "You'd better start talking." The man hesitated, then sighed. "It's an experiment. Something went wrong. The forest, it's not safe anymore." I stared at him, my mind racing. An experiment? What kind of experiment turns people into that? Before he could answer, a noise outside made us freeze. The sound of hooves on dirt, slow and deliberate. Arlen moved to the window, peering out. "We need to go, now." We left the cabin, the stranger reluctantly following. The woods were eerily silent, the moonlight casting long shadows. Every rustle of leaves made me jump, As we walked, I couldn't shake the feeling we were being watched. "Do you hear that?" Sophie whispered, her voice trembling. I stopped, listening. A faint whistle echoed through the trees. My heart raced as I realized it was coming from the plastic whistle the stranger had given us. I pulled it from my pocket, staring at it in disbelief. "Don't blow it," Arlen warned. But it was too late. The sound cut through the silence, and something in the woods answered. A figure emerged from the shadows. Ben, but not Ben. His face was twisted, his mouth unnaturally wide. He reached for me, his grip like iron. Arlen swung the axe, severing Ben's arm, and we ran. The forest seemed alive, the trees closing in around us. We didn't stop until we reached the SUV, panting and covered in sweat. As we drove away, I glanced back at the woods. The stranger was gone, and the forest was silent once more. But I knew we hadn't seen the last of whatever was out there. Sometimes the woods hold more than just secrets. What lies in the shadows is waiting. Tonight, we escaped, but the forest never forgets. Stay out of the woods, unless you're ready to face what's lurking within. If you enjoyed this chilling tale, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. And remember, the next time you hear a whistle in the dark, run, stay curious, but stay safe.